Alright guys, so today we're going to be doing another compact comics comparison. This time we're going to be talking about size and paper quality. I know the setup looks a little bit different, but I wanted to kind of give you an angle and view where you could get a good look at the size of the comics and the paper quality without really losing too much of the visual quality. So trying to keep as much sharpness and clarity as we can just to give you a good indication of like size and paper quality. So that is why we are in a different setup for today. But with that being said, let's get into the different publishers' size formats of their compact comics and check out their paper quality. Alright guys, so first up we're going to be talking about size. So right here with me I have a DC compact comic. I'm going to try to get it to you with as little glare as possible. So right there you have Batman, Hush. And now for the size comparison, I've brought in a couple different things. First, I'm going to show it with a volume of manga. This is a standard size volume of manga. This is Radiant Volume 6. And we're going to go ahead and just put it right up to its edges. So line up the bottom, line up the spine, and there you go. As you can tell, you've got a good bit of size difference. Whoops, there we go. Good bit of size difference right here. It's a little bit wider, the DC Compact comic. Also the top, the height of the comic is a little bit taller. So a DC Compact comes in at a little bit taller than a volume of manga. But also, let's compare it to a manhwa. So anybody reading Solo Leveling will know that this is a manhwa, and they're a bit bigger than a volume of manga. So if we stick the DC Compact up against it, let's line up the bottom, line up the sides. All right, and there we go. Not sure if you can tell, but it is a bit taller than the manhwa. However, it is a little bit less wide. So over here on this edge, if you can see that, you've got the manhwa sticking out just a little bit. But as far as the size comparison, like I said, I'm going to try to get it to you with as little glare as possible. You have a little bit of a taller version with the DC Compact comic, but the manhwa is a little bit wider. So for any manga and manhwa readers, this will be a good size indication for you if you're trying to pick up a compact comic, especially a DC Compact. But that's not all. Let's compare it to something that other comic book readers might be able to identify with. So this is a trade paperback. I just used Naruto and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover. And this is a collected hardcover edition. House of X, Powers of X, or House of X, Powers of 10, however you want to call it. I just call it House of X, Powers of X. Here you go. Let me show you this. So a trade paperback is a little bit smaller and a little bit less wide than a collected edition. Now, these hardcover collected editions happen to be the same size as an omnibus, so you can use that as a reference guide. So, with that being said, now let's show it to you with the comparison of a DC Compact comic. So, here we go. We're going to line this up. We'll get the bottoms, we'll get the spines. So, that is a pretty large difference right there. This is what a DC Compact comic looks like in comparison to a hardcover collected edition or an omnibus, because this is the same size as an omnibus. I believe it's the same width. I know it is the same height. So correct me if I'm wrong if the hardcover is a little bit less wide or a little bit more wide, but I know it's the same height as an omnibus. So, yep, that is your size comparison for that. And then we will do the size comparison against the trade paperback. So you can kind of see the size difference there. Let me get a look at the picture, make sure it's not giving you too much of a terrible glare on it. So there you have it. Size difference right there. Not as wide, not as tall. But if you do want to check something out, there's the difference in thickness. I mean, look how much a DC Compact comic gives you compared to a standard volume of a trade paperback. But okay, so that is the size comparison for a DC Compact comic against comic books and manga and manhwa. But what about a Marvel collected edition? This is their new line that they're going to continue to support at $9.99 a book. So $10 per volume. It happens to be the exact same size, almost the exact same size. I'm talking like a hair's difference in certain measurements, but from all intents and purposes, the DC Compact comic and the Marvel Compact Edition are the exact same size when it comes to height and width. I think actually the Marvel Compact Edition might be like a hair, literally a hair wider. That's it. So these two books are going to be the same size. So there you have it. And then we have, for a size comparison, the Vault Compact Comics. So Vault, the one that I picked up was the Dungeon Crawler Carl one. In my last video, you saw that this is the only Vault Compact comic I have, but it is actually smaller than a DC Compact comic, which means it is smaller than a Marvel Compact Edition. It is almost the same width. Let's see. Let me make sure they're lined up. Again, maybe a hair's difference, but for the most part, it is the same width. However, it is slightly smaller, not as tall as the DC Compact comic. I don't know if you can tell, but there is that little lip right there for the DC Compact comic. But here's the funny part. This Vault comic is double the price. So 20 bucks, 10 bucks. All right, now you have those for size comparison. But what about some other books? So Image has Paper Girls in the Backpack Edition, which is their compact comic version for this particular title, and they'll have another compact version coming out next year in Radiant Black, and I believe Radiant Black is going to be the same size as this, so we're going to just rate them and judge them as if they were the same size. You also have IDW Classic Collections, Lock and Key, which happens to also be, oh, look at there, the same size as an Image comic from their compact line. And then what do we have here? Oh, we've got a Marvel Premiere Collection from their lineup. So 3 compact titles that are all roughly the same size, roughly the same height and width. Again, if there is a difference, it is negligible. You can hardly tell. So for all intents and purposes, these are all roughly the same size. But now let's compare that to a manga. So again, we'll use Radiant Volume 5 for manga comparison. So if you can tell there, we've got it lined up as close as we can to the edges. I'm trying to make this work the best I can, but clearly it is much smaller than the Premiere Collection, the Image Compact, and the IDW Classic Collections Compact Edition. So all those now will be compared to a trade paperback. Let's make sure we get that here so we can show you. Sorry for all the scrambling around. I want to make sure I get you a good size comparison here so you kind of know what you're looking at and know what you're getting when you're picking these up. So here we go. We have the size comparison here. As you can tell, the trade paperback is ever so slightly taller than these collections right here. Oops, let me line them up, make sure we're getting like some pretty good measurements here, as accurate as we can with this kind of a rough setup. So yeah, trade paperback's going to be slightly taller. I don't know if you can see it there from that lip, but slightly taller. However, it is just slightly wider as well. Not much, not much. Probably less than an inch wider. But there you have it. So that's against a compact. I'm sorry, that's against a trade paperback. So what do these compact lines look like against what would be the size of the hardcover collected editions for like Marvel and the Omnibus? What would those sizes look like? Let's see. All right. Oh, wow, yeah. Much taller, much wider in the Omnibus hardcover collections. Just a bigger format altogether. Even these Premiere collections and, you know, the compacts for Image and IDW look a little bit small in comparison. But, yes. So, there you go. You see the size comparison there between those two. Now, we'll do the manhwa as well, just to kind of give you a rough idea. So the manhwa is going to come in a little bit smaller. A little bit smaller, a little bit less width as well. That is the comparison there. You can't really tell, you know, like I said, a little bit smaller. You're getting the lip right here up top. But yeah, so that is the size comparison when we're talking about compacts. Now, what I'd like to do is go into the paper quality of these. And again, this is by no means a comprehensive list in any way, shape, or form. If I'm leaving things out, or if I'm forgetting things, or if there's books that you know about that are a different trim size, please feel free to leave it in the comments. I just want to kind of give you a rough visual so you can see kind of at a glance if you're buying your first compact, or if you're trying to get into compacts and you don't really know a size that you know these books are coming in at. I can give you kind of a rough estimate by maybe showing you something in comparison that maybe you have read before, like a trade paperback, or if you're coming from manga like I do, where I loved manga, then you can see kind of where these stack up in a size comparison. So yeah, with that being said, let's jump right into the paper quality. All right, so here are three compacts. We have Vault's compact comic, we have Marvel's compact edition, and we have IDW's classic collections. All three of these have similar paper quality in the sense that for the IDW collection, you are getting kind of a light semi-gloss paper. I'll put it right in front of a light so you can see. You're getting a little bit of glare. So there you go, you can see, but again, we'll try to tilt it and keep it out of the light so you can get a good indication. That is what it'll look like when you're reading it without a ton of glare. Hopefully that's coming in well. All right, now you can look at a Marvel compact edition. This one I would say is a much higher gloss than the IDW. It is still not super glossy, but you can see you get the lines from shining it directly into the light, obviously, but we'll lift it up. We'll try to take it out of the light so you can kind of get a good indication there. Hopefully that's coming in good so you can see it. All right. And then we have Vault's compact comics, which are also a pretty glossy page paper quality. So there you go. Again, you get the lights, but then we take it out of the light a little bit, and there you have it. So I would say the Vault compact comics are probably the most glossy. Coming in next would be the Marvel compact editions, and then IDW, which has kind of like a light gloss to it, which is really nice. I'm actually starting to dig these IDW collections, classic collections. They're pretty sweet. But now let's talk about my favorite page quality, which reminds me the most of manga. It is a DC compact comic, which has a paper quality that is printed on matte paper, so you don't get a ton of glare. Now, if I stick this right up against the light, yeah. But looking at it right there, let me bring it back. I would say much less glare. You get a more evenly lit experience here instead of those harsh glare lines. And then when I bring it in close, you can kind of tell, you know, the light really just illuminates the entire page rather than blinding you from what's on it. So I really like that. And this paper quality is kind of shared amongst the Marvel Premiere Collection. See, it kind of lights the entire page without giving you really nasty glare. And also across Images Compact Edition, where, again, it just kind of lights up the whole page and doesn't give you those harsh glare lines. I really, really like this paper quality. In my compacts, this is kind of the paper and the quality of the paper that I would prefer. It's closer to manga, it's less reflective, not as hard to like pick a spot to read because you don't have to sit there and play with the light source too much in order to get a good reading experience. So I gotta say, for my compact titles, I prefer them when they are of this paper quality, of the matte paper instead of the gloss. But to me, I'll read either. It doesn't matter. I mean, you know, I have a preference, but it's nothing that's going to stop me where it's like, oh, this compact's in a fucking, you know, gloss format. I'm not going to read it. No, that's not the case at all. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up with the paper quality of this stuff. This was kind of a shorter video. I wanted to just get it done, kind of show you, give you a quick rough comparison. I hope this served as a good tool to help you decide what you were looking for compact comics. You know, the different sizes, the different paper quality. But let me know in the comments below if this helped at all. And I'm going to be doing one more in this series where I talk about the support that these titles are getting and the catalogs that these publishers have for their compact titles. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.